In this video demonstration, I'm going to show you how to use the JND437 folk art frame it die to make a beautiful card, quite a large card, but using the unique features of this set. The frame it dies have been developed over the last 2 years to give you ultimate flexibility in your card making, in that you get a beautiful frame die that cuts you the perfect frame. So in this one, the delicate or the folk art frame, it will cut you a perfect 7 by 5 inch frame, which gives you a 1 inch frame all the way around. So absolutely wonderful for matting anything, for layering, for using in boxes, for using in your scrapbooks or anything. But the unique feature of this is that you've got 4 panels that slot in. So these will actually slot into this die, so you can use them separately, which we did in the previous video for the folk art frame, or you can use them together to give you a beautiful frame just like this that we're going to be making in this video, with all of the detail traipsing all the way around. Plus, the individual dies can be used on their own together to make a frame that just cuts into your card. So you've got a lot of different options. But the other thing in this set is we've included lots of other pieces to make this very versatile. So you have 4 pieces here which work individually as corners. So you can use them to take these center panels out, built up like this, propped into the corner to give you 4 corner frames that cut in. You can obviously move them round so that you can get a beautiful pattern in the center, and again that can be repeated so that you can have a beautiful pattern there, or you can click this one just to there to give you the ultimate sort of wonderful pattern in there. So there's lots of options in there. Plus you have the center circle, which gives you a plain circle, so you have the pattern that cuts in and cuts out. So here we have the plain circle. Then you have the insert that cuts in and cuts out and gives you this beautiful pattern, which I'll show you here. Looks so nice when we've just paper pieced it quite loosely and simply in the screen. So it really looks like an arts and crafts movement, really into that folk art look. Then you have a center section again to cut that middle out, so you can go further down if you want to. And you also have a beautiful center piece, which just again fits in and gives you a beautiful motif in the middle of it. But for this demonstration, we're going to focus on making the frame and then making a card with the rest of the set. So I'm going to start with a piece, and this is our denim blue in the craft artist card. And you would assume that the best way is to cut the frame first, then add the pieces to cut the pattern. That way you don't get it even. Your best way to do it is to follow this procedure and actually cut it all together as one. So I'm just going to take the die, the frame first, and I'm just going to tape it loosely down, and I'm going to remove the strip from the side. And this strip from the side is sized exactly so that you can use this to cut out your leaves, or it will fit any of the John Next Door flower paints perfectly on it. So it isn't a piece of waste, it's not going to scrap. Pop that into your flower box or cut some flowers at the same time while you're operating. It's really worthwhile rather than wasting the card. But we've got our frame here, so we're going to then take our individual pieces, making sure we clear them of any pieces first. I'm terrible for leaving them in. And you want to place the piece in, and any of these 4 pieces will fit in any of the 4 sections, so you don't have to worry about which piece fits where. I can take any of these, again just cleaning them out, so that could fit there, or it could fit there. It will fit in any of them, or there. So again, I'm just going to place that one in, and once I'm happy that it's even, looking all the way around the frame, we're just going to tape that down. And make sure you don't be afraid of using your tape. And I would strongly recommend using the Craft Artist low tack tape on this. If you use those sort of paper based low tack tapes, they're actually just a version of a paper tape that's made with slightly lower glue. The paper with the pressure in your machine can merge in and it will rip your card. So I would genuinely recommend using that. So I'm going to take away the piece of tape that was holding it down, because that's not necessary now. And then we'll just clean out, and we'll pop our last one in. And again, just make sure you've got that nice and securely taped down. And that will then go into your die cutting machine. and you want to put that in with clean plates. So if you can see here, I've got all little bits from a previous cut on there. You want to remove all of those and make sure when you're making a frame that your plates are completely clean. So I'm just going to place that on into the middle, and we do need an A4 cutting machine for this. I'm just going to press that down, and I'm going to run that through. And what I'm actually going to do is run that through, and then I will rotate it, but I'll show you that. So I'll show you the piece that we're going to get. And the other benefit of this die system is that if I was cutting this using a die that just cuts this pattern out, I would have to have two identical sized nesting dies, and I would have to be extremely clever to get a colour behind it. With using the die on its own, it doesn't matter which way I rotate this round, it will fit every time. So it is impossible to get it wrong. It's genuinely so easy to do. So I'll do it the fourth way. So we'll just bring our cut piece in, and you'll see here, I'm going to make sure it's nicely taped down, hold it that nothing moves, and then rotate it. And you'll see all the pieces down these two sides that were here have not cut because they've been too quick. So we just make sure we rotate it round. I can take that piece away, and we then place our top sheet on with a metal shim, as it's a delicate die cut, and we just run that back through. And while that's running through, I'm just going to show you, I can glue these together very simply by just popping a little bit of glue on each of these four mitered corners and running a little bit along each of the edges. So you don't have to spray glue or use your fine glue applicator. It will very simply glue with your normal craft artist super tacky glue. And so we're just going to pop that on. And you see, because they've been cut with exactly the same die, they fit absolutely perfectly. And don't worry about any glue showing through, because it will dry clear and it will dry matte. And that way, when we move it round, we have absolutely no light blue showing on the middle or on the sides, just that beautiful pattern there. So I'm going to pull this out of my die cutting machine. And you can see here I take that out, and then every piece is cut. So again, you may have to release some pieces just like this, but it's not difficult to do. And every piece will come out. And to make the plain frame, it couldn't actually be simpler. Take your die, take off your individual strips. And I leave these on with the tape because I'll use this next time. The tape will last so many times. And we get a perfect 5x5 square out of the centre. We want to put that to one side because we're going to use that later in this project. And I would simply then place down the plain lighter blue. I think this is our sky blue card. Again, cut the waste piece off because that will use through flowers, and we run that through the machine. And when we've done all of that, we get here a perfect frame as I showed you glued earlier. So we now want to go into some of the other pieces from the die set. So what I've done here is cut a piece of white card to 5 3/4. What this does is, first of all, this makes sure that 2 squares of this come from one A4 sheet of card, but also because of the way the frames are designed, it fits exactly in the frame and allows us room to put foam tape around it, meaning we're not wasting whole sheets of card for these larger cards. And what I want to do is just gently take this and place it evenly on the back, and I'm going to add a little bit of tape down. And that's so that I keep that in that place, because we're now going to take the dies in the set. So we're going to take the corner dies and we're going to drop one into each of the corners using the frame we have die cut as our guide. So 1, 2, 3 and 4. So just place those in, tape them down nice and simply. That way we've got a perfect guide that fits and fits every time. I'm leaving the same size border on each side, just like that. I can then very easily remove that, carefully pull off where the tape is, and we run that through our die cutting machine and cut it. And what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to cut that so that you can see. So this is going cut through off camera on my Kaleido. So again, all of the dies apart from the frame itself will fit through your smaller A5 die cutting machines. So this is a set that you can use even if you don't have an A4 machine. You can keep the frame to one side until you're ready to get yourself an A4 machine. For me, it was very quickly. It was about 3 months after buying my first one, I wanted an A4. So again, each of these pieces lifts out, but you'll see that this die just cuts into the card and cuts this beautiful, as I say, sort of like an arts and crafts movement, a hand-drawn flowers and leaves. And that's a design element from around. It's sort of after the Art Deco, so we're talking sort of going 30s and 40s with things like John Ruskin and other artists, you know, following on from the work of William Morris, so a little bit more freeform. I didn't realise I was going to give you a little art history lesson there. I'm probably wrong. But we get that beautiful panel, but you can see then that when we pop the frame on, it fits exactly. So I've got a piece here I've already done, and what I've actually done with this one is I've just foam mounted the frame into place so that we've got that, and I've added a little bit more foam tape on the back because I'm going to take a square of card again, and this one is again in the denim blue, but I've cut this to 5 3/4, exactly the same size, so that I can put this on. So we keep this colour combination of the denim blue, the sky blue and the white working. And because of the frame, if you can see the back here, it isn't tidy, it isn't neat. It doesn't matter because the frame hides all of that. So from the back, I'm going to take a piece of denim blue, cut to that size, 5 3/4 inches, place it down. So we've then got a sort of raised, lifted area. And again, you could use that as a shaker card or anything. So I'm going to go ahead and add a little bit of glue onto the back of here. And wet glue because I'm placing it on the card, which lets me position it. So I bring in my card blank, and this is an 8x8 card, and that means I can just place that down exactly nicely centered. Because of the frame, I don't need to mat and layer. I could if I wanted to, but I don't actually need to. I'll just make that work like that. So now we want to pop something into the center. So what I've done for this is we have left over from making our frame 2 5-inch squares. So I'm simply going to cut the plain circle and the detail pattern out from the light blue. So we'll tape those down and cut those. Once that's cut, I'm going to cut the plain circle from the darker blue, and I'm just going to glue those together just to give me this panel here. You can see what I mean, echoing that sort of folk art, arts and crafts movement. So I've added a little foam tape onto here. Nice and simple. And we can put this at a point like that, or we can put it square on, and I'm going to pop it square on so that I've got flower, 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 flower. It sort of echoes all the way around, but we've got that beautiful center. So all we need to do now is to decorate this. So using the second to last die in the set, I'm going to cut out a panel in the middle there in white and stamp it with a sentiment. And I've used the one from one of the 2J's stamp sets, and I've put Thinking About You, which is one I cut out of the stamps. And that's just been stamped in a light grey, just to work in the centre. But you see how it brings those, you bring that white back into the forefront, and I just think it works beautifully as a composition. So now I simply need to add some flowers. So I've cut some leaves, just using the Dianthus Leaves die set, which I should give you the code for, which is JND440 dianthus leaves. And for these, if you can see, there's a little bit of colouring on that. I just used the same grey on the dies. So if you watch the video for that, it shows you how to do that. And then I've made up a set of cards cut from the scrap of card from the bottom. So I made up a set of the flowers, and these are JND441 scarlet flower. So we have a full set of those, and I have a couple of sets of the leaves, but all I'm going to do is to take the two opposing pieces. So again, using my craft artist glue, I'm going to echo that corner piece with the two largest, just like that, keeping them across the frame. I'm going to take the two, the left and right, in the medium size, and do exactly the same on the other side. I'm then going to take the two smallest leaves, and we're going to leave those to one side for the minute, and I'm going to stick my flowers down. So I've got a large, a medium, and a second sort of medium large there, selected down on one side. I'm going to take the sort of the smaller and then the little tiny ones, and put those up here in this top right, and then finish off by adding my leaves in to keep that triangle shape, and exactly the same here. And then to finish, I'm going to bring in some of the craft artist stick-on pearls, and I'm just going to pop a centre into each of these flower shapes, just to bring these out to the front, and do exactly the same here on the two corners that we can see. I'm going to sneak one in because you can just about see that one there, and there we go.